When the going gets really tough or dangerous, officials call in the German Special Operations Forces, also known by their German abbreviation KSK. The commandos regularly push themselves to their limits, both physically and emotionally. The military chaplain knows the men behind the masks. If a soldier has concerns, he tries to help, even during a mission.
When the trust is there, people come to me with their problems. I think hardly anyone here would refuse to go to the chaplain.
A rare glimpse behind the scenes of Germany's top secret combat unit. Live fire testing is about to start. Every 6 months, these special forces undergo a stress test at the shooting range. Only those who complete the course flawlessly receive combat-ready status. First, Sergeant Flo, whose name, like everyone's in this film, has been changed, knows the drill. As an active commando, the sergeant must be ready to kill if necessary.
That's just a given. I don't even think about it. From day one, you train and prepare for it. You practice it so many times that it just becomes automatic.
The commandos conduct secret and high-risk operations. Being identified could put them or their families at risk, for example, through kidnapping or acts of revenge. That's why we only show them masked. Michael is a military chaplain in the KSK, a counselor and spiritual advisor to the soldiers. The chaplain says the fact that they kill people when needed is consistent with the fifth commandment.
The Bible says, "Thou shalt not kill," but it also says, "You should not allow killing." That means I must not allow innocent people to be killed. The mission of the KSK, of all German armed forces, is to protect life, to protect those who cannot protect themselves. I'm convinced that human beings were created to have a powerful aversion to killing, and that's how it should be. Overcoming this resistance to killing is a huge and very difficult step, and I know very few people who do not have problems with it.
The KSK is a special unit of the German armed forces. Its soldiers are trained for the most difficult missions executed under extreme, often life-threatening conditions. Its missions are top secret, as is its size. Unofficial figures say it has 1,400 soldiers. Core tasks include reconnaissance, capturing enemy targets, and rescuing hostages from crisis areas. KSK soldiers can be deployed anywhere in the world at any time. Back at the military base in Kalf, in southwestern Germany, the chaplain and first sergeant are planning a ceremony at the memorial site for all fallen commandos.
Tatsächlich ein paar Punkte, die ich mit dir auch noch durchsprechen wollte. Ich weiß nicht, was die Dekane dazu sagen, was für einen Zeitansatz ihr braucht und wie lang, aber dass wir diesen Moment der Ruhe nutzen und in diesem Moment halt die Glocke nehmen. Genau. Das würde sich anbieten, wenn wir die vielleicht sogar hier wegkriegen.
In this unit, the subject of death is closer than in other professions. I know how important it is to talk with each soldier about this in detail. Have I made all the necessary arrangements? Have I decided what kind of funeral I want? Have I assigned power of attorney over my finances? As a chaplain, even outside the military sphere, I see how much distress often accompanies a death when these things haven't been addressed.
The first sergeant is the main point of contact for all KSK soldiers, a bit like the company's mother. He regularly confers with the military chaplain. After all, working as a commando is extremely demanding, especially mentally.
I often go to the chaplain and the psychologist. I want to set an example and show others that it's not a sign of weakness, but just like going to the dentist. That's what we want to get across. It helps you. And not just you, it helps the team, the entire company. Because if one person is missing, he leaves a gap, and that gap has to be filled, and then the whole balance is upset.
At first, the sergeant wanted nothing to do with religion.
I still remember on my first mission when they said we're going to have a service. I thought, no way.
Only after reaching a personal crossroads did he realize how important a military chaplain can be for soldiers, especially when they're deployed abroad.
We already had our first son, and my wife told me in a video call while I was on a mission that she was pregnant with our second child. That was hard. There weren't many guys around me who had children, so no one could really relate to what I was going through. And I felt like I was leaving my wife home alone. That's where the chaplain is very, very important. He can support you, give you tips, and even call up your wife for you if you're going to be away for a long time. That's very, very good.
There is a small chapel on the grounds of the barracks for prayers, baptisms, or counseling sessions. When the chaplain first began his service with the KSK in 2021, he sensed a certain wariness among many of the soldiers.
It was important when I first came here to break down the resistance that many people have to the church or pastors. The longer I'm here and the more people get to know me as a person, the less I feel such barriers, especially when I'm on duty or training with the soldiers.
The German Armed Forces shot this footage for us during Arctic training in Canada in January. In Newfoundland, German commandos trained to operate in temperatures as low as -20 degrees Celsius.
Here, I get an even better understanding of the life of these men entrusted to me. I feel the cold. I can understand what's going on in their minds. I don't talk about it like a blind man talking about color, but know how it might feel to be here for several weeks.
Today, the soldiers are going ice swimming. Even the chaplain plunges into the freezing water.
Auf geht's! Jawohl, sehr schön.
That evening, the chaplain is on more familiar ground, a prayer service in the cold.
Are you feeling good? Yes? You can all feel good, proud, and grateful that you've almost completed your training. As for whether you're happy with your life, you may each have a different answer there.
Such spiritual ceremonies far from home are always very welcome, says another commando at the military base in Calf.
I enjoy that very much. I am a religious person myself. I have found it very comforting, especially when I've been deployed in a different country over holidays like Christmas or Easter. The military chaplains often hold services for us to celebrate these occasions on site. That's very important when you're far from your home and family. It always gave you strength, and to a certain extent, it's a bridge back home.
Captain Andy is responsible for KSK recruitment and often appears in public. He says that since the unit was founded around 30 years ago, recruiting suitable soldiers has been one of the most difficult tasks. Not only do candidates have to be in top physical condition, but the job also places extreme emotional demands on them.
In my opinion, the greatest strain during deployment or other things is being away from the family. All of us go on missions willingly. That may surprise outsiders, but we are all volunteers here. So in that respect, I have never found the missions themselves stressful, but I have found the absence very difficult. And I am very aware of the strain this puts on my family.
But the sergeant finds that spending time at home with the family also has its challenges.
We're actually most relaxed when we're on a mission because we know that our families are far away. In the best case, they're well taken care of. We do our thing, we do what we want. We have time for ourselves. We can shoot, we can train, we can plan operations and then carry them out. That's actually what we're here to do. But here in Germany, maybe you have a stressful day, you go parachuting, maybe you have a live fire test. You can go home in the evening, but then you have to drive your son to soccer, pick up your daughter from ballet, pick up some bread on the way home. They're just normal jobs that people do, but they're stressful.
The chaplain reports that many soldiers come to him at some point with marital problems.
You're on a mission with others, and your wife is sitting at home alone. Perhaps the wife falls in love with someone else, and the soldier can't cope with it. So he asks me to give them couples counseling. I often sit here with married couples, and we talk about what they can do to improve their situation.
Although the Special Forces unit was founded almost 30 years ago, little is known about its missions. Its first operations were in Bosnia-Herzegovina and Kosovo in 1998. KSK soldiers were also on the ground when Western troops withdrew from Kabul in the summer of 2021. One of the few missions that the KSK talks about publicly is Operation Taabi, meaning moonlight in Afghani. In October 2012, German commandos arrested 2 terrorist leaders in northern Afghanistan. But instead of the planned quick airborne raid, there was a long firefight with the Taliban. Several KSK soldiers were wounded in the operation and an Afghan police officer was killed. First Sergeant Flo was right in the thick of it.
Being shot at while we're still in the air, gunfire crackling everywhere, that was really strange because we usually infiltrate quietly or come in vertically. In this situation, there was a racket right from the start, which was new to a lot of us. And then the first bullets started flying, and you're not sure where they're coming from. It's a scary feeling, no question about it.
Das ist schon ein komisches Gefühl, keine Frage.
He came through the mission unscathed, at least physically. But at that time, there was no psychological debriefing. Nowadays, that's standard after every mission. But not everyone is happy about it.
The old guard, I call them the silverbacks or the old cowboys, still have a hard time with it. I can still remember when I first came here to Calf, no one would go to a psychologist because they thought it was a sign of weakness, that they couldn't take the strain. Nobody wanted to admit that. Thankfully, a lot has changed since then. The younger ones who come here are more open to the idea. There's a lot of information about it on social media, and you realize that it's not a sign of sickness to go to a psychologist, but that you might get sick if you don't go to a psychologist.
First Sergeant Stefan is something like the KSK's drill sergeant. He's responsible for maximizing the performance of all commandos. This is not only a matter of strength and endurance, but also of skill. The most important factor, however, is mental strength. To develop that, soldiers first have to be pushed to their physical limits.
At some point, the body gets tired and shuts down, and then you can make your mind more resilient and really dig deep. We also use other methods like sleep deprivation, eating less, cold and heat, which create a new sense of consciousness and give soldiers the tools to improve their performance.
Stefan is still an active commando soldier himself and is responsible for medical care during special operations. One mission took a heavy emotional toll on him.
I'm a father of 4. We were on a mission because of events beyond our control. One day, when the temperature was around 45 degrees Celsius, an 8-year-old child with hardly any clothes but with multiple shrapnel wounds was just dropped at my feet. There was no water, no food, nothing. And then these multiple injuries on top of it all. I realized later that I hadn't expected that. In my drill training, I always had to treat adult men or women, even during mission simulations.
The chaplain says that in such extreme situations, it usually helps to talk about what you have experienced with someone who can handle it. From time to time, soldiers talk to him about service-related problems and ask for his help. This is why his position is so important.
I'm not bound by hierarchy within the unit. I can talk to the general and anyone else, and I don't have to go through official channels. That makes it easier. The chaplain always has the general's ear. I've never had a general say, "No, I don't have time for you right now." Instead, they say, "Oh, it must be very urgent. Let's talk." Often I can help these individual soldiers in this situation precisely through these channels.
When he needs a little boost himself, he turns to his favorite hobby, music.
I find music very soothing for the soul, and many people here at the base share my feelings. A favorite song, a melody playing in the back of your mind that reminds you of a situation, that can stir your emotions and sometimes bring tears to your eyes.
And it can help to have someone by your side who listens and can offer guidance. Because, thankfully, even the toughest elite soldiers are not cold-blooded mercenaries, but human beings with human doubts, worries, and problems.